So we have been looking at screen scraping and how it is done and what are the advantages and disadvantages of it. So the next thing that we have is data scraping. So anyways, before going to data scraping, let us also look back into our screen scraping and do a reprisal of what we have seen and post that. So today we are going to see screen scraping and data scraping, post which we have a session on database and FTPs, which is file transfer protocol, which are pretty similar to the basic local file operations. And after that, the only thing left out is your orchestrator. So probably that we'll see tomorrow, and which should close our session by tomorrow. And if you guys have any doubts, and also did you guys receive the assignment that I forwarded? Now we were seeing about screen scraping, right? Okay, yeah, this is our demo. Okay, so if you have seen earlier, what exactly does the screen scraping do, or what is the purpose of this, and why do we use it? For example, if you have an image like this, let's say you have an image but you have text in it, right? So you want to extract text out of this image. So how do you do it? So you cannot read this using a text reader or a PDF reader. Instead, you will have to use OCRs. So what are OCRs? OCR are optical character recognitions. So that they are built by external companies probably. So currently you are, so what does our UiPath do? It picks up OCRs from the provided service providers like probably Google or Microsoft. I'll integrate that OCR into our code, and you can just call that OCR and give the region of the image or the complete image to extract the text out of it and give back. So what is the problem with this? OCRs are not 100% reliable if we have a different level, fonts or different sizes of text, but they are good in terms of same or same style or intended text. So we'll see what exactly does that do. So you have this small piece of code. So for example, I know that my text always lies in this area, that is Harvard Law Review, whatever it's here. So if you use any get text or read text, this will not be able to read text because these are not your regular text or your elements. This is just an image. So if it's a PNG file. So here to extract image, what do? You just go here, click indicate on screen. Okay, let's give an escape. Let us start from the first. So how do you do it? You go to your screen scraping. You select this, give it a second, okay, and then here change this screen scraping to full text to OCR. That is your scraping method. And here you can use your Google OCR or Microsoft OCR. And here we are supposed to give the region where we want to extract text from. Probably we'll select all the text that is within this box. So let me select this, and then it will take a couple of minutes to generate the text. So if you see, this is the text that it has generated, right? So this is the text that this OCR has recognized in the region that whatever we have selected. So let us change the region now and see if it recognizes other text also. So I selected this part. So this should give me contents. Yes, it gives, but with spaces in between, right? So now what will happen if I take the entire region? So let me click here and let me select this complete part. Yes, so I'm selecting this big part, and then if you see, you get proper results. So it says contents the Supreme Court and 2012 term. So OCR works fine here. So when does our OCR does not work? So as we see here, OCR works properly. So let us try to select the complete region, all the text that we have in this image. So the bigger region you select, the large amount of time that it takes. So if you see, this is the text that it is extracted. So it was actually Harvard Law Review, but it is not detected that. Instead, it was something as O semicolon 013 by the hand, and there's some random text. And then the content Supreme Court and 2012 term is fine. And then you have your forward and equality divided, and all these dashes are removed, and it says Reva B. Siegel, and then one. Next is going to be comments. So it has almost read the complete exact text, right? Except excluding the Harvard Lab Review, Law Review, and this small part. So here this thing is not recognized properly because the text that is here and here is different from the font that you have here. So if you have different variations in the text in a single image, I would suggest you to have individual staging regions and combine those texts together. That is when it works absolutely fine. But in the end, again, every time there is a small change in the font or size of the text, the OCR struggles. So we usually do not encourage our clients or to have OCR included in the solution that we provide because it is highly unreliable, right? But instead, if there are cases where the text is going to be very similar and it is not going to change in any case, and if you have that confirmation from your client side, then it is suggested that OCR is a solution to look for. Okay, so whatever we have seen till now is a Google OCR. You can change that to Microsoft OCR and do the same part. So let me take this complete region and see how does Microsoft OCR work. So you select this, and this is what your Microsoft OCR gives. It directly started recognizing from forward. Everything before that is discarded. So it's directly equally divided, and then it has left this complete reverb sigle, and then it came to comments, and then beyond the discrimination, model of voting, and all this, right? So Google OCR is a bit stronger and robust compared to your Microsoft OCR. So whenever you have that, try using Google, and first of all check with both, and whichever should work fine, you can use that. Okay. So any doubts on this about screen scraping and why do we use it and where is it helpful? Oh, sorry. Let me show you how do we extract that text generated into our own screen. Let me select this region and then give the Supreme Court 2012 term, change to OCR, Google OCR, and then give a refresh. Which is the Supreme Court 2012 term. Click on finish. The moment you click on finish, you have a small piece of code, and then in this you have this text output, right? So create a variable here. And let's have a message box. So whatever text that we have seen in the box that it has generated, so that will be printed out as a this thing. So this is the message box. So this is the text that it has extracted, right? So this is how you can use use a screen scraping method to extract text from images. Okay, and then next let's go ahead and see an interesting problem. So let's search for something like, say, your this doesn't give decent results. Yeah, so you search for something like Dell and say Inspiron. So then you get a bunch of results, right? So what did we use to do to extract any information from this? We used to extract, you we so let us do that. Let us create a new sequence and say data scraping. So let us say I want to extract, or I want to check what is the link for each of this and then click on it. Let me say, for example, I want to click on one specific thing which directly takes me to the specific laptop. So let us say I want to click on this Inspiron 15-inch 3567 instead of any other thing. Okay, probably tomorrow if I do a Dell Inspiron search, I might not get this result in the second place, right? So then how do you make sure, or how do you extract one specific information or one specific field from your entire given search results. How do you do that? So one way to do that is extract all this. That is, you can do using this get text, right? Take your output. Okay. So you have to create many of such get text to extract all the text that are available from your search results, and then you have to iterate through all the information inside that to get your exact information. But that is really a not a useful thing to do, because it requires a lot of this thing, that is your effort to get extract text or extract links from every result that you get. So to have a simple solution to extract all the information that is available on this page, you can use this data scraping, right? So our target here is to extract all the links that you have. So probably I have this 1 2 3, how many results do I have in here? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, suppose 10. So you have 10 results in this. I want to extract all these 10 results that are available, that have been given back from your Dell search, Google search. So how do you do that? So you can just say, so you will not be using any of this get text or any such stuff. Instead you go to data scraping. So if you see, when you click on this data scraping wizard, it opens a specific window for you, which will direct you exactly where to go and what to do. Okay. So here it very clearly tells, open your browser, application or a document, and navigate to where you want to extract data from. So I want to extract the data from the search page, right? And next, press click next in this dialog and hover the mouse cursor over the data source field. So I click on the next. So I'm starting from here. I don't want to take the ads. So I click here. To create a pattern, you need to indicate a similar field, preferably last in the collection, right? So let me give a next. So try to select the last or at least second one or the third one from this list. So I select this. So if you see, it has already identified that there are two fields to the value that we have selected. It says the first one is your text, other one is your URL. So let us say this also. Click on next, and it says this is the information that it is going to extract. So the first result is your Inspiron Dell. Is that right? Yes. And then the link for that, or the URL for that, is https://www.dell.com/p Inspiron laptops. That is this, right? So your correct corresponding text and its URL is extracted automatically by this. All right. So when I say finish, identify the element that gives okay. Let me give an F2 to hold for a second, and then let's give a next. So what have I done now? So basically it has asked me to show the field which will take it to the next page. So if we see you are in your first page and you want to go to your next page, then this is where you are going to click, right? Next. So it has asked me to show the field from where it is going to go to the next page. So I've just given this field. So we'll again also see what exactly does it does and how do we do that. So we have this, and then you have extracted a table. So that is available in your extracted data table. Okay. And then let me change the scope of this. Okay. So this is the part of your data scraping, and then let us use a small for each row. In your extracted data table, have a message box and say row dot string. Do we have that? Okay. So now let us run this and see what exactly does it give. Okay, if you see the currently this is not in my hands. It is going to, it itself is changing the pages. So this, oh, okay, okay, let's not have done that. Let me stop this. Let me go to my page one. So what are the maximum number of results that I want? Let us say for now I want 25. And then here, the link text is, and the URL is, okay. So if you see, I'm trying to extract 15 results, sorry, 25 results. So you're trying to extract your 25 results. So let's go back and try to run this. So the link text is Inspiron, right? So is that Inspiron? Let's go back to our first result and see. So the link text is Inspiron hyphen del. Yes. Oh, sorry, I forgot to give a space here. And the URL is HTTPS Dell Inspiron laptops, right? So let us give an OK. So if you see, the next one is Inspiron 15-inch 3567 laptop Dell India. And the URL is this thing, Dell Inspiron P15 laptop PD. So if you go to all the results, it would essentially have all the text and your URL appropriately ordered already, and it is able to extract that into a data table directly. So what is the advantage of this? So if you want to check for any search results in a Google page, you need not go and manually extract information for each and every result. Instead, you can directly use a extract data table or data stripping method to extract the information directly from the results itself, and altogether you can have that in a data table. Later you can modify as how we are doing now. All right, so let us try this. So this is the text and this is the URL. So this is how it extracts all the information. Yes, so if you give 25, then it will give you all the top 25 results, and you can change that number to 25, 100, or many results you want, and you can use this data scraping method. Any doubts? Are almost all clear about this thing? Yes, no? Okay, hope everybody is comfortable. So let's move forward. So the next thing that we are supposed to see today is how do we handle file transfer protocols or data that is on your what do we call FTP servers, right? And I hope you also haven't seen about databases. How do we handle database? So let us see that also. So let us first see if we have this database package installed. Okay, no. So let's go to available. Yes. So you have to use, you can use this SQL data, database activities. So this is the one provided by UiPath. So you have to install this. This will give you all the packages or the activities that will help you to use databases as an integrated service. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how do we handle this. FTP first place. Okay, we don't have the FTP package also installed. So for that, go to your available and click on FTP. So you have this UiPath FTP activities. Just install that. Okay, it is installed. So let us close now and let's go on say FTP. So these are all the activities that you can do on your using your FTP. So what does this FTP do? So if you have any files from your SharePoint or which are on any of your cloud machine and are not virtually or physically not available in your system. So in that case, to check if a file exists on a SharePoint, and if you want to get the directory details or you want to download a file or upload a file or copy a file, move, and all that, you can use this FTP. So how do you do it? So you can simply, if you want to delete a file, you simply have to give the complete remote path. So if you see, usually we will have our absolute path here, right? So usually our absolute path looks like this: C semicolon slash slash program files slash and all stuff, right? So our absolute path looks like this. But if you go to a remote path and say, it would start something like https semicolon slash slash say s point, it's a share point slash slash say some Sangeet Reddy, probably it's my on my name, and say some folder name, folder underscore home slash some Excel file, say book1.excel, right? So this is how your remote path looks like. So it is not just a direct your absolute path. Instead, it would be a it would start from your with your HTTPS, because that is a SharePoint, and it would end with something which looks like a file name. So before that, you need to have access to this SharePoint, which is monitored or altered by your admin or the SharePoint owner. So once you have that, you can just give an OK. Probably this will also delete your file that is available on a SharePoint, not just on your local system. So when does the SharePoint really make sense or is really useful? So in most of the cases, what we do is we deploy robots in so many different machines that it is tough to maintain a single machine for a single robot, right? So what we do is, all the files that probably we will give to robot or all the files that the robot will give back to the user are placed in SharePoints. A specific SharePoint folder for every robot is created, and that path is fed into the config. So if we see, we have seen our XML config files as how we extract information from them. Similarly, we will give the complete path in our config, and then we will extract the information from your config file into your remote path in using your XML deserializer and all that stuff. and you will delete the file directly from your SharePoint and not from your local drive. Is that clear? So the only simple thing that you have to know is you have to install this FTP package, and then you can directly use this. Right? There is also one other important thing where, for example, if you have to log in into any website, or let's say you have any desktop application that is provided or on which your robot has to work on, and you need to get the user ID and password from any of your client or probably your SME. So how do you do it? How do you ask? How do we handle the usernames and passwords, which are actually should be confidential, but instead we would want our robot to know that to log in into those machines. So how is it done? So usually in other cases, how do we handle all this confidential information? Will we give our username and password to anybody who is trying to access or do our job? No, we would not give, right? Because that's a security threat. So instead of what, so even in UiPath, it is not required that the UiPath has to know the exact username and password for every application. So there are multiple ways of doing it. Usually people do, so we would suggest people to do in a different way, whereas most of the people do have that username and password in their config files and extract information from there. But it is not at all recommended in terms of your code security and your code compliance, because anybody who opens that XML file or the config file will have access to your application. Correct. So instead what we would suggest is you have something called Windows Credential Manager, right? So you have something called get credential. Sorry, this is not from orchestrator. Okay, I hope that is also not available. Do we have to? Okay, just give me a second. Okay, probably we'll have to install a package for that also, I guess. That is why we are not getting that. So what we actually do is we will ask the user to log into the machine in which our robot runs, and ask him to create a Windows credential in your credential manager, right? So you have the generic credential. So for example, let me show you a small demo of that. Okay, you have this. So you will have to install this package also to use that, which is credentials activities. So now, okay, cool. So you have these four activities that you have available in your this thing. So let me say you want to extract a credential, right? So for now, let us do something. Let us log into any of the website. Let me say, give me any website from where we will have to log in. Probably Amazon. So here, if you see, you want to sign in, right? So let us say your user says that he adds all the items to your cart, to any specific Amazon cart, and he wants the robot to log into his account and check the prices for all the products that are added into his cart, right? So for that, we cannot directly go and ask him for his Amazon user ID and password, right? So we cannot even ask him to put that on your config file, because that is accessible by almost all the developers and robots. So tomorrow I can just write a small robot to extract all the information available from a config file, and then I can misuse that. So it's a code compliance issue as well as a security issue. So instead of that, what do? We will ask the user to create a generic credential, right? So let me say the credential is your amazon.in, and my username is my mail id, and then I'll give my password here. So let me say this is my password, all right? So let me say this is amazon is the network address, this is my mail id, and this is the password. So this is how he adds up his password into his credential manager. Okay, so you give an okay. So if you see, there is a new credential that has been added to your windows. So now go to your this thing and say your target. Okay, so this is where you'll have to give the name of your credential, which we are given as amazon, and the output whatever you give, or the password. Okay, let's say first extract the username. So you give your control k and say user underscore name. So this is your username, and let us also create a new this thing. Okay, so you have this. So if you see, you can directly log into that machine. Let me just show you a small demo. I want to enter my username here. So this is my password. Okay, okay, and then also let us give an enter, right? So if you see now, I have not anywhere revealed my username and password actually. So I have went into my Windows credential manager. I have added a credential here under the name of Amazon. So even if anybody opens this, they'll be only able to see my username and not my password, right? Even if you give an edit, you cannot extract the password from here. Anyways, if you're not an admin or root user, you cannot even access the up to this level. So we will ask the employee or the client or the end user to add their user ID and password to their credential manager, and then we run our robot from here. So if you see, it is going to extract information from your credential manager. Okay, it would have given some different password. Okay, why has okay? Let me check first if my credentials are correct. Okay, yes. Let me check my credential manager. Okay, sorry. Save this. Okay. Off. So let us try this again. Wow, so big. Oh, 1 second. Okay, let us go back and see why isn't it actually giving the correct password. So if you see the username, it is able to extract properly. So this is how it extracts username and password. It should usually extract username and password from your this thing. Okay, it is not typing in my actual password, which is really small. It should be a different thing to. Oh yes, this is the problem. So now let me use this. Okay, so for typing in your password, you cannot directly use your type into. Instead, you have this separate thing called type secure text, right? So you will have to give your secure text here. So we will see what the secure text is and why did we get a problem earlier. So let us go back. Oh, good. Okay. So now let us run this. Okay. So if you see, I'm able to log in properly, right? So what actually was wrong when we tried to convert that to string and input it? So if you see the type of text, whatever that is outputted from this get secure credentials are two types. One is your username. So one field is your username, which is an output. The other field is your password, which is also an output, right? So if you go to your variables and see, your username is just a string. This is fine. This is a normal string variable. But when you go to your password and see, that's a secure string. This is not regular string. This is a secure string. So let us see what is the difference between this actual string and a secure string. For now, let me disable all of these and make you understand what exactly is this. User message box, output your username. Okay. So this is a normal string. So this should not be a problem. It will give me my username. So right. Yes. So now let us use another message box and say password. So if you see, you cannot type this password directly into your message box, right? So let me try to convert that back to string. You have the string here. So let me save and run. So this is my username. And if you see, even when I convert that back to string, it will only give you system.security.secure string, right? You will not be able to extract the exact value that is available inside your string. So this is the advantage of using a secure string. So what is the actual advantage of not being able to extract the information? So if you have a simple uh, string, you can just write into any of your log messages. So let me say you have a log message and you can write this into your log message, right? So when you do this, your username, whatever is being extracted from your Windows Credential Manager, is being written into a log file. So where are all these log files located? All these log files would usually be available to the developers, because we monitor robots and their execution and the everyday's run, to make sure that everything has gone fine, right? So for that we will be able to have access to logs, and if you are able to write all this information into logs, then in that case there is a security breach, right? So you will be able to extract the information from both your username and password. But here if you try to write something as your password, which is secure string, you will not be able to get your extract information, internal information, whatever that is being contained in your secure string. Instead that will be displayed just as your system.string.secure string, right? So this is how you will be seeing your secure strings. So all the crucial informations whatever you are trying to extract, they should be extracted either from your Windows Credential Manager or from your orchestrator's credential manager. So we'll see orchestrator credential manager also very soon. Probably in the next tomorrow's class, we'll see how do we get credentials. It is very similar to our our credential manager. How what we extract from your Windows. Similarly, you can add IDs and usernames and passwords to your orchestrator, and also extract information from your orchestrator. Is that clear? Any questions so far about this extracting username and passwords and data scraping and the other things, FTP, file transfer protocol, and yes, database we are yet to see. We'll see that. So till now, whatever we have seen, any doubts on that? Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks. So the next important thing that we have is how do we handle databases? Because most of the information that we receive from external sources are to be pushed into database, and that is the major task that is usually given to UiPath. So all you can do is probably if it is not installed, you'll again have to install the package, or you have it installed. So there are very few but very powerful integrated activities that are available for your databases. So the simple things are, one is your connect. So right, so as you all know, this is just an establishing a connection to your database. For that, all you have to do is you have to tell what kind of database it is, probably your SQL database, or Oracle database, or Microsoft Access database. Just select one of these databases, what kind of database your database is, and then in your connection string, so what is the file name, if it is existing, or if it does not exist, then you can use your server authentication. You can give your username and password. Usually we have our username and passwords for any database, and then you can use a test connection, right? So once you give your database name and your username and password, you can just give your test connection to check if that no database is your if you're able to connect to that database properly or not. Once you have that, this will be the output of your database connection, which is actually a simple connection string. So right, so let me give the name as your connection. So right, so all your connection strings that you're, so the complete username and passwords whatever you have provided, and the connection whatever is established is being retained by this simple argument or variable called connection. So wherever you pass this variable connection, that will hold the connection in between your system and your database. So for example, if you want to execute a query, so there are two things: execute a query and non-query. Usually people should be aware of these two if you have worked with databases. So query is something where you query a database and you expect a data table in return. For example, if you have a small database called as a UiPath and you want to extract all the information available in that, you will just give select star from your name of the data table, that is UiPath. In that case, you are expecting a data table in return, right? But there are many other commands where you would not be able to extract any, or you expect any data tables or data in return, something like updating or inserting into a data table or deleting a row from the data table. In that case, you would not expect a data table in return, right? So in that case, you will execute a non-query. So in your configure connection, you can just give the name of the connection whatever you have given earlier, So we have given connection there, so we can just use the same connection here, and connection string and which kind of connection that is. Once you do that, you can just write your query here, whatever query you have. So let me say I just want to select all the information, select star from UiPath. So this is my query, and when I give an OK, so whatever return that I'm expecting or the output whatever I'm expecting will be available here. So that is your output field where you will expect the return queries, the data tables return for your query. But in case if you have a non-query, simply something like delete star from UiPath. See, doing this will actually delete everything that is available in your table, right? So there is nothing that is being expected in return. So for that, you can simply use this. Okay. So this will remove, or sorry, this will, so execute non-query will, run the code and do not expect any data table in return. And for expecting a data table in return, for that you will use your query, execute query. And to establish a connection, you can use this connect. To disconnect the same thing, you have your disconnect. And then instead of having a separate query for inserting into data table, you can just give your table name, give your connection string here, and then the data table, what name of the data table inside, sorry, the data table which you want to enter into your actual data table. So for example, you say you have a table named as UiPath and have 10 entries into it, and you want to add another, append another table with 5 rows, let's say UiPath demo. So in that case, your local data table UiPath demo will go here, and your actual data table name would be going here, right? So probably you will get a good idea of this only when you get, when you get to implement this. But this is fairly straightforward, that there would not be any issues at all, because these are dedicated activities for doing these SQL connections and SQL operations. These do not cause any errors until and unless you have the actual username and password and the connection details for your database. Is that clear? Any questions on this? Okay, I hope there are no questions. So probably the next session that we'll be seeing is on your orchestrator, and I'll probably try to get a link for the orchestrator. It looks like there is a small demo orchestrator session. Sorry, demo orchestrator link for every of this community session. Sorry, community session of see the picture and sorry, complete architecture and on orchestrator. But it would be, I'll try to get a demo, complete demo as a complete actual link to the orchestrator, and show you, like I'll take any of your remote machines as clients, and I will run any robot, and I'll be able to run robots on your systems. Okay. Are there any doubts? And yes, I have. I'll talk to Teja to send out the assignments today. So please spend an hour to complete those assignments before you come tomorrow, so that you'll have your questions answered. So probably in the mail, whatever I've sent, I've asked not to, implement the last two questions. But since we have seen data scraping also, I would suggest you to solve all the questions that are available in that assignment that you'll be receiving today. Is that clear?